Hi everyone, welcome to TeachX. This is Miss Arouj, and today I'll be presenting a short webinar on mastering the SATs strategies for success, and the subject that I'll be talking about is maths. Okay. Now, first of all, what is SATs? SATs is basically a standardized test that is for students who are willing to apply or who look forward to take admission into the universities or the colleges in the United States. SATs has different parts and different parts and sections, and the section which we will be discussing is the math section. Now, in this webinar, I'll be talking about the structure, the content, the preparation strategies, and the common mistakes in SATs. So hopefully you can avoid them in the future. Let's start with the structure of SATs. Now, the math section of the SATs has a total of 44 questions and a time period of total 70 minutes. This section is further divided into two subsections, let's say. The first is the no calculator section, and the other is the calculator permitted section. The no calculator section has a total of 22 questions and a time period of 35 minutes. And the calculator section has a total of 22 questions again and a time period of 35 minutes. So in total, you have 44 questions and 70 minutes. And each, the non-calculator and the calculator section have 22 questions each and a time period of 33 minutes each. Now, the type of questions that are usually asked are MCQs and the grid-in questions. So you should be prepared for both type of questions. Now let's look at the topics of SATs. The main topics in SATs are algebra. You should have a very good knowledge of algebra if you're planning to take the SAT exam. Then you have geometry. Geometry is not so in detail, but still it's present. Then you have problem solving. You have data analysis. And you have additional mathematics questions. Okay, so the problem solving and data analysis is something you should be very careful while you deal with questions that involve that are a part of this section. While for algebra and geometry, your basics, your fundamentals, your knowledge of formulas and their application should be very good. Now let's talk about the core concepts. Okay, so the core concepts needed while you're planning to sit for the SATs include linear equations. Now, linear equations and inequalities, and then you have, this is the first one, then you have functions. You have three types of functions. You can have linear, you can have quadratic. This is basically algebra. You can have quadratic and you can also have exponential. So make sure your basics are very strong because these questions are not like, there's not a standardized system of questions that will be asked in this exam. It can be twisted. They might ask you from the other side from which you don't know, like you haven't practiced. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you understand the course, you understand each and every step while solving a question. And for other topics are geometry. You have angles, you have triangles, and then you have circles, etc. The other core concepts you should have include some trigonometry basics, just basics, nothing in detail, and you should also have some data analysis skills and some understanding of how to analyze data. Okay, so these are the 4 or 5 of the core concepts. This is just an outline of those concepts. When we discuss, there might be some few things you might need to know more to score excellent marks in the SATs. Now, This was a brief idea of what SATs are, how many sections they have, what topics they include. Now let's talk about some preparation strategies, because that's what you're here for. Okay. So preparation strategies. One of the strategy that you should have is strong core concepts. So whenever you're planning to start preparing for your SATs, make sure you start from the basics itself. And make sure you start a while back, so you have the time to prepare the basics of the of algebra, of geometry, of trigonometry, and data analysis. You know how to solve quadratic equations, you know how to deal with linear equations. This can only see in the test. You might have some questions that are a bit twisted. So to solve those type of questions, you should have very strong core concepts. You should be aware of the quadratic equations and everything in detail. Second preparation strategy that I usually advice to my students is to have a good knowledge of the exam pattern. So exam format or the test format, you should have a very good understanding of that. Now the third is practice. Now, this is a preparation strategy, and this is one of the one of the common mistakes as well. Students, once they start understanding something, they believe that okay, they are good with it, and they can move on to the next concept. What they miss during their preparation time is they don't practice enough. I'll tell you one thing. Doing the exams is one of the last step during the past papers, or the what you call it, the demo papers or something like that. It's one of the last steps of your preparation. In the beginning, you should pick up some random exercises from your school, or from Google. You can find a lot of exercises, or from some mathematics book, and you should practice the concept you just had in your mind. The more you practice, the more clear it will be, and it will be more better for you. It will be better for you, and it will be easier for you to solve complex problems also. This is one thing. And the last thing is, make sure you're good with your time management skills. Since you have questions like data analysis and problem solving in the SATs, they take some time. The questions are usually lengthy. It takes some time to read it, and then to get the information out of it, and then to decide what type of approach will be best to solve these questions. This will take you 1 or 2 minutes, or maybe 3 minutes for some students. So for each question, you don't have this much time in the exam. You have other sections also. So you need to make sure that you're good with your time management. You don't want to lose marks just because you did not have enough time. Okay. Now the last thing is the common mistakes. This is a thing. If you have an idea of what mistakes normally students make in the exam, if you keep that in mind, you will inshallah surely avoid those mistakes. One of the biggest mistake is no step by step solving. No step by step solving. So I have seen this with a lot of my students. They're very sharp, they're very good, excellent students. What they will do, they'll just solve questions in their mind, and they'll be like, okay, this is a question, I'll do this the steps, and this is the answer. Now what happens when you're sitting in the exam, you have that pressure, you are working fastly, you're trying to do everything, you might miscalculate something while doing it in your head, and that's where you lose marks for no reason, I believe. So make sure whenever you're doing any steps, you're writing all the steps. And in case if you want to come back, and check, you can just refer to your solution. You can refer to all the steps you have done, and you'll understand. Okay, this is correct, or if there's a mistake, it's at this step. The whole question is not wrong. So this is one thing I always advise my student, that please solve step by step. Don't skip steps. Okay. Another mistake, no practice, which I explained previously. You need to practice a lot. Never think that if you grasp a concept at once, it's going to stay in your mind. It might stay in your mind, that's a good thing, but most of the time it does not. So make sure you practice, practice, unless and until you see the question and the solution pops in your mind. Okay, so practice, practice. The third thing is solving past papers. Most of the students, they just go through the past papers They open it, they look at it, I know this, I know this, I know this. That's not a good approach. What you have to do, take past papers, take a stopwatch, start doing it. Once you might fail, second time you might fail, third time you might fail, but slowly, slowly, you'll start doing it in time and correctly. Okay? And another mistake is no rechecking. Okay. Now, students, they might get lazy, they might not recheck, and this thing, in this way, they can lose some silly, they can make some silly mistakes which they cannot get back to. If they recheck, they can find the mistakes. So, this is one of my advice. The fifth common mistake is misreading the question. Always make sure before solving you read the question twice and read it with your eyes open. Okay, so make sure you read it twice with your eyes open. Okay, now this and yeah, I think these are the common mistakes usually my students tell me they made and they lost marks, and I call them silly mistakes, not common mistakes. I call them silly mistakes because if you don't know something, that's a different story. But if you know something and you made a common mistake or you made a silly mistake, then it just feels bad to lose these marks. Now, let me know if you want some help with your SATs. If you want me to solve some past SAT exams, we can also have a small webinar to do some demo solving. So yes, I hope you got some basic idea of the SATs and you understood some strategies, some core concepts or something. So yeah, thank you.